And we're back. Let me adjust my camera a sec. So, part two. Yeah, it was a little on the cringy side, as if like Charlotte just, I mean, okay, the original series wasn't perfect. Was it politically correct all the time? No. And I know that they're making up for it. I mean, I think that's why most of the cast members, like Cynthia Nixon, was willing to come back, and only with the motive to be more inclusive. If they were going to come back to these four characters, I've tamed them. I've tamed them a little bit, just in case if you notice they're not so long. I couldn't do that long thing. Sorry. So, but it just felt a little cringy, and it was supposed to be like the all inclusive episode, but it felt a little like I can see why some people are turned off, and I'm not in favor of people who are like, no, they should just left it with the four women. What do we care? Why do we have to constantly be educated? That those statements sound uh, ridiculous and sound ignorant. There's just a better way of telling the story, incorporating these people without necessarily, yeah, preachy sounding or appearing too preachy to the audience. Because at the core base, it's the four women. I get it. And they want it, but I don't know. Again, it's hard to judge this, and it's hard to judge any material that was filmed during COVID. I don't understand why people constantly like they're missing the mark. I was like, do you not realize what goes into a set? And it's hard now that it's hard to even people get certain angles and a certain amount of people pose in a way. It was not that I'm saying that that was the sole reason as to why, I'm sorry, Pose ended so abruptly. Aside from the fact that, I believe either the show runner or creator was like, well, there's not like, where else can we take these characters? So they decided to end it after season 3. But rumor mill, it was that they, this is Ball Life. That show was Ball Life, and without an audience, how much true to the source can they stay? And again, the same kind of applies here. I get it. It's not like it incorporated a lot of people on set, but again, none of us know the amount of crew and production and makeup artists and wardrobe do we know they need to incorporate for the show. So I think people should mind their P's and Q's also when they're making these opinions, because it's like, should you? Do you know what it's like to work in production? If you don't, mind your business. And stop being so judgy. So it's hard. It's hard for me. In my opinion, it's hard to kind of judge it for that major purpose. It's hard to film. And anything that honestly comes out, we should be grateful, because these people didn't have to put themselves in harm's way, and they have, for our entertainment. Anyway, aside from that, then we have the now famous Tragically Hip. And in the course of these last 3 episodes, remember, Carrie is on a podcast. She's transitioned from column newspaper to on-air talent, and she has been delivering a couple more zingers, but she's a bit antiquated, as most people perhaps in that age range who aren't constantly leading their lives, documenting their lives online, like Twitter or Instagram or IG stories or TikTok, YouTube. And Carrie just suffered through a loss. So her boss, although I think she herself has she has an issue, and she's wheelchair ridden, um, and she seems like she's the head honcho. She's the one that tells people what they have to do. She's incredibly insensitive here. And she's like, yeah, I know you went through a loss, but get your numbers up. And it was kind of like really like, so there's that instance in that short clip. And but anyway, moving forward, we've been through a number of losses, confrontations. Carrie Carrie flips out also when her real estate broker happened to accidentally brush over a marital picture, I believe, or maybe when they were still dating, Big and Carrie, and it was framed and it was right by a Big's bedside, and he would always touch it, according to her, and that's why she flips out. And she's like, the frame is still intact, but I can replace the glass. She's like, you can't replace that. And I don't know, that in itself too was a little cringy because I get it, she's going through loss, so she's not gonna be the most, sweet cherry pie that you can possibly find. But it made her, she came off a little on the like it was just so incredibly insensitive. And not throwing shade, I don't necessarily think that the actresses are their characters, but they're coming off in the show, at least, like, like where we left them. Women who are middle class and well to do, a little out of reach in terms of humility. So I feel like Sex and the City did have its time. Like, remember in late 90s, 2000s, we were in a different era. We were under a different administration. The economy was not in the tanker. You could spend frivolously on like expensive shoes. Nobody was gonna criticize you for it, and you could be as stuck up as you wanted to. But now things have changed. We've gone through loss. We've gone through pandemic. We've been through so much. The economy is in the tanker. We suffered the last administration. So it's been a tailspin of issues in this country that now their characters don't really appear quite relatable to this to this current society. So that's why I think they're coming off a little like um and are they evolving? I would hope, but I don't know. The last couple episodes been kind of dragging. It's kind of, and we're still hoping that there will be something. I did like the way it ended, episode 5. This current episode. That's what I'm trying to get back to with this nice song by, what do they call, Jungle, Tragically Hip. Now, Carrie, I guess for so many years of wearing these high heels, and they've always said high heels can have consequences, or I think she had a genetic disposition and her hip was like off kilter, and so she needed hip surgery. She counts on Charlotte and Miranda, who come to her aid, and even Anthony, who now we discover is now recently divorced from Stanford. Stanford just split, and I get why they did it. It's unfortunate we lost that actor during the summer. I think he was going through pancreatic cancer, so rest in peace. He was a great character on the show, phenomenal actor. But yeah, they wrote him off like so abruptly, like they did Samantha, like through a postnet posted those little sticky notes or like a text or something like that when it came to Carrie, and that he bowed out like that because he just couldn't bear telling Carrie that he was moving to Japan to represent a new client, TikTok client influencer of his, and he wanted a divorce from Anthony. So everybody seems unhappy. And then in episode 9, speaking of unhappy, we realized that Miranda's been very unhappy, and this is where a lot of us kind of went through that foggy state that because we of the fear of, we didn't know of the gravity of this virus and how it spreads and how it was attacking people, that a lot of people, to cope, started hitting the bottle. There were instances of Miranda drinking before, but now it's very heavy-handed in this last series, and so Although she doesn't want to admit it to herself, but Charlotte is noticing like what's going on. She wants to drink during the day. And so there's an instance where now Carrie is recuperating. She's been a lot under a lot of heavy meds. She's in her home relaxing. Miranda's just taking care of her, and by chance, her boss comes to visit Che, who's non-binary. And I believe is bisexual, but prefers women, and is having a really great rapport with Miranda. And they're having this little coquettish flirtation that leads to straight up sex in Carrie's kitchen. And then unfortunately, Carrie can't get up to pee. She really has to pee. She's gonna wet the bed. She tries to take like a Snapple bottle. She is able to pee in there, but then as she's trying to lift herself, can't, and then soaks her whole bed. Miranda not only got a little bit of weed, but also got, uh, you know, uh, laid basically, and she was happy and thrilled. Carrie notices like, "What are you doing? You're married, and then you're having sex in my kitchen with my boss, and you already know that this is a sensitive issue. What if it doesn't work out between you two? What are you going to tell your husband?" It was crazy. And then I think Miranda is just met with her own realizations of what is to transpire. Is she going to really stay with her husband, or is this a eye opening experience where she's realizing that this is what best suits her, perhaps pursuing a relationship with Che, or just either being on her own, or just pursuing life as an openly lesbian woman. She says she had never felt like that, not with her husband or anyone for that matter. And then she started realizing that the drinking had become a crutch. So she has to come to terms with that. And then slowly we see Carrie coming back to normal through physical therapy. She's on crutches, she can walk, and she's met with this incredibly hot physical therapist that she's like, and then the flirty thing that could have happened, yes, I do think that they kind of cut too much. So we don't see the development of what could have transpired. All we know is that her insurance didn't cover him, and she was willing to pay out of pocket. And those are instances that, yes, it would have made the show a lot more joyful to watch. I do think there's a little bit too much of a concentration on old lady. And I feel like, are they doing it on purpose just so that they kind of can close the chapter on this show? Because I feel like too many people are constantly like, well, we're going to do this, and when do you see another movie for that, and we're going to really have the foursome back. Has anybody stopped to think, like, maybe they're purposely, giving us kind of like sad and crappy episodes so that we'll just kind of get off their back, about Sex in the City, and we can close this chapter when it comes to this show. But, and as I say that though, with a heartfelt and sad heart, we say goodbye to Betty White, our Rose from Golden Girls. What a legend. What incredible talent. And we lost her today on New Year's Eve. But leave it up to Miss Betty White to bow out on one of the most biggest of holidays of this nation. So come next year, people will always remember her, because she's such a beloved humanitarian and actress, comedian. But and I make reference to the show because Rose was one of my favorite characters from the Golden Girls. But Golden Girls was fun, in a lot of ways. I maybe agree with a number of YouTubers who have critiqued the show because, they were in their 60s and